Welcome to Digging Deeper with Backyard Farmer. I'm your host, Kim Todd. On Digging Deeper, we have in-depth discussions with experts about important landscape topics. And we have a really fun topic today because we are talking about tiny humans in gardens for all the right reasons. So as we talk about this tonight, I am really pleased to have Jenny and Mickey from the Ruth Staples Lab School right here on campus. You know, we had Jean Ann Fisher and Ann Powers talking about the connection between nutrition and the difficulties of gardening. So what we want to talk about with you guys today is more or less the fun and the reasons why. So tell our audience what you do and why.
Yeah, so we are from the Ruth Staples Lab School, and we are a program right here on East Campus, and we serve children 18 months to 5-year-olds, and we're open to the community, not just university members. And so there's many community families that come to our school as well. And our foundation and philosophy of teaching is that we bring children into the context of real environments, and so they're learning by touching, seeing, feeling, and one of those learning environments is our garden at the lab school. So we have the Angeline Anderson Butterfly Garden as well as a children's vegetable garden that we plant year-round, and so Mismiki is a teacher in one of the classrooms, and so she'll share a little bit about the curriculum and connecting families and children with our gardening program.
So I'm the lead teacher in the Goldenrod classroom, and the Goldenrod classroom is our 3 to 5-year-old classroom. However, I go back and forth between both classrooms. The Blue STEM classroom is the 18 months to 3-year-olds classroom. What we have as far as our connection between helping children at a young age understand the importance of what they're eating and the difference between nutritious foods and what we call, or what I've called sick foods. Yeah. Because there are some foods that make our body sick, and there's some foods that fuel our body and actually are nutritious for our body. Instead of just saying, healthy foods, we've given them more of an in-depth understanding of the foods that they're eating, and we talk about exactly how it helps their bodies and fuels their bodies, and what the connection we have with gardening right now at the lab school. Like Jenny said, we've got the outdoor gardens, but we also have tower gardens, so we're able to grow all year round. Mm-hmm. We're able to grow traditionally like we do out in the soil, planting seeds in the soil, teaching them how to water it, teaching them, the effects of the weather, and just observing and documenting the growth of the plants. But then indoors, with our tower garden, we are also able to plant seeds in the tower garden. It's hydroponic, aeroponic gardening, and the children are able to do the same thing by watching the seeds come to life and then harvesting them right there in their own classroom, and even, eating them at lunchtime. We have salad parties, or, we'll add some lettuce onto our sandwiches sometimes. So it's really just been, pretty awesome to watch them evolve.
So describe the tower garden and what you grow and the one that you have done at home, just so our audience knows what the possibilities are.
Sure, yeah. Well, with the tower garden, there's indoor and outdoor possibility of growing. Mm-hmm. The outdoor growing is usually for fruited plants because you need the heat, and there's a certain, depending on where you live, in Nebraska, clearly, I can start growing maybe in April. Sometimes May, depending on when the snow decides to stop and the frost decides to stop. And we can grow on one tower garden. I have grown, just for my family of 6, eggplants, cherry tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes, yellow squash, zucchini, cucumbers, green, red, and yellow peppers. I'm trying to think of what else. Any type of lettuce, any type of greens. Herbs, we've grown celery. We tried growing pumpkin on there. I've seen somebody grow a pumpkin on there or grown a watermelon on there. I haven't been fully successful with that yet because that also depends on the amount of heat that we get, or the type of weather that we get at certain times of the year. Mm-hmm. So we can grow all of those things on one tower garden outside at one time. And it's a big basin full of water. There's liquid nutrient soil. Mm-hmm. So when everybody's like, well, how do you get the nutrients that you would get from traditional growing in the dirt. Well, the company has been able to make liquid soil so that the nutrients go in the water and the pump goes up the tower and showers back down and like neutralizes the roots, and then you have, I think, a growth of, I think it's something like 3 times more yield than it is traditional gardening.
Wow.
And what's really great about this system is that what we know about children is that they want fast results.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh,
and so
course.
when we plant in the garden, they're asking, are the radishes ready? Are the radishes ready?
Yes.
Or, are the beans ready? And it takes a certain amount of time for
Right.
them to grow outside. But with the tower garden, it's usually close to 4 weeks that then we're able to harvest.
We're harvesting, yeah.
And so for children, it gives them those quick results.
Right.
So then it offers lots of great conversations of data collection of what's growing, what can we eat yet, quickly. Whereas in the garden, it's a longer process of using our patience
Right.
to wait for them to come. And the other thing is that we're not open during the summer at the lab
Right.
school. And so right now we're have lots of our corn ready, lots of, and so
Yeah, all of our
we're
stuff
not
that we
in
planted
session.
in the summer session, we have a 6-week period or something before the kids come back. So,
Right.
there's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that we need to harvest there,
When
but
they come back
they
here,
miss out on that time
yeah.
of growth. So yeah,
Right.
the indoor and the outdoor, having both to compare
Yeah.
to is pretty cool.
Really fun.
Yeah.
Well, I know, Jenny, when my students came over last year, I think you had either a pumpkin or a squash that had decided it wanted
Oh yeah.
pretty much all of your entire garden space outside.
That's exactly what happened. So we planted it in this one little space and then came back after summer, and it had taken over our swing set, had even climbed up into a pine tree, I think.
Oh yeah, the one that was close
and
by.
So we all had to problem solve, what do we do now? Because this is our favorite place to play. And so we found just a fence that we could put in kind of an archway, and then the kids helped us pull the vines up over that archway, so then we could still let the pumpkins do whatever they wanted to do, and the kids could then go
Play underneath it.
Yep.
Yep.
and go.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So I'm intrigued. First off, the names are great. Goldenrod. and
Right?
Yeah,
bluestem.
yeah.
Those are native plants.
Yes.
That helps. But the age range, so describe a little bit of the difference for our audience, especially people who have children in that earlier age.
Exactly.
What do you teach them, or how do you teach them that is different than the older age groups? How do you do things differently?
Yeah, so at our 18-month, it's really about exploratory play.
Absolutely.
So allowing an 18-month to just go out into the garden space, touch, feel, allowing them to lick and taste if we know that it's a safe plant, and not saying, no, don't touch that, but saying, oh, what do you think about that? And allowing them to build their understanding of plants, vegetables, fruits. And then as an adult also, not only as a teacher, but as a parent, if you don't like one of those vegetables or fruits that toddler is going to touch, not saying, oh, I don't like that, but saying, oh, what do you think about
Right,
that?
right.
So not putting your own attitudes and perspective towards the food on the child's.
Which really, if I could piggyback off of that, the whole picky eater thing when it comes to young kids.
Right.
Well, my child will only eat this. I remember my first child, who's now 22. I would think, if he eats another peanut butter, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, he's going to turn into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because that's all he would eat at the time.
Right.
And it's never going to go away that parents with young children are going to have issues with picky eaters. But what parents don't realize, and even what mothers don't realize, is that 80 to 90% of mothers are the ones that actually turn their children into picky eaters, because what do we do as mothers? We shop for the household, okay? If we have a hard time trying a new food, or if we don't like vegetables, or if we're struggling with understanding what nutrient-dense foods are, then we're going to shop for the household, and we're also going to introduce our children and our family to the foods that we're also going to eat, or that we're going to cook. Dr. Sears, William Sears, well-known pediatrician, he says you need to offer a child a food anywhere from 15 to 20 times, the same food, like if it's an eggplant or a pepper, 15 to 20 times before you decide, or the child decides that they don't like the food. Well, what happens is as parents, you know, if Jenny doesn't like eggplant, and she's like, okay, well, I know I got to get my kids to eat more nutritiously. I'm going to buy an eggplant. I'm going to cook it. She might cook it one time and, you know, they don't like it. She might cook it a second time, they don't like it. And most parents are like, all right, well, I've cooked it twice. I've cooked it twice, you know, they don't like it. You know, I'm not going to buy this. I'm not going to keep trying it if they're not going to eat it. Well, parents, we also need to try new foods and try new recipes and involve, you know, more plants into our meals and introduce more different types of plant foods with the children. We role model exactly what we want the children to do. We can't say, eat this eggplant, and then behind their backs we're eating something that's not the eggplant. Yeah. Because I mean, that's we set the standards for, you know, the nutritious eating in our households.
Right. Exactly.
And so then the connection that we have with gardening and nutrition, I've been blessed enough to work in both rooms. So I've also worked in the 18 months to 3-year-old room, and we make them a part of the growing. They plant the seeds. In the tower gardens, you plant in something called rock wool, and then you put vermiculite over it. And we talk about how, okay, let's plant the baby seeds, because they really are baby seeds. And then let's put the baby seeds to sleep. And then we put the vermiculite over it. And the vermiculite, I call it a blanket.
Right.
Because the baby seeds have to sleep in the dark if they're going to, and I use the proper terms. I say if they're going to germinate and grow, because we underestimate just the brain power of young children. Use the proper terminology. Put the blanket on the baby seed. The baby seed needs to germinate and grow in the dark, and then it's going to grow big. We're going to have to watch it, and we're going to have to watch the little leaves pop out and watch it grow big. Well, then, because of the way that you're presenting it to them, this is going to be exciting. This is going to be really cool to watch happen. And after a while, like she says, we've got a harvest in about 4 weeks. Literally, the 18 months to 3-year-old children and the 3 to 5-year-olds are going over to the tower garden and taking kale off of it and eating it raw, because we then experiment with taste.
Sure.
And what's really fun is to see the peer interaction. So one child will go and take it, put it in their mouth, and they're saying, yum, delicious, this is so good. Another child will come over, put it in their mouth, and you can physically see that the child thinks it's not good. But yet he's
kind of
like
with that one.
smiling.
He
like,
keeps
oh, this
eating
is
it.
supposed to be good
Because
friend thinks it's good.
Right.
And so there's this kind of co-construction of knowledge between the children about, you know, what's good, what's not. And of course they build their likes and dislikes over time.
Right.
But that child tasted it.
Yeah.
Because their friend got to.
And then when they start eating more off out of the garden or off the tower garden, you know, that's when we start pulling in the curriculum of, you know, you're eating grow foods. It's not healthy foods. You know, we talk a lot at the lab school about these are grow foods. These are going to help you grow big so you can run on the playground and so you can climb that tree. And, you know, I have them put their arms up and show us their muscles. And look, you took a bite of that kale. It's fueling your muscles. I can feel it fueling their muscles, and they get so excited about it.
You have a red light food. Oh, now you're getting slow.
Yes,
Now your brain is foggy.
Yeah.
And the kids totally
They
do.
They do. And I'll have posters of a traffic light, because you know it's traffic like eating. Green light foods are foods that fuel. Yellow foods are foods that we don't eat all the time, and they're not necessarily foods that fuel. And then red light foods are foods that make us sick. And so you relate those foods to what happens in their body, and they walk away. And I have parents coming up to me and saying, my child is saying this is a red light food.
Yeah.
You know,
I cooked red light food for dinner. And the impact that the children are getting this content knowledge about food and the quality of food that we're eating is so important, because then they take these ideas home, and our parents were coming back and saying, what is this about?
Yeah, and they want to know more themselves then too.
That's perfect.
To go along with it.
Well, if you are watching us on Facebook, make sure that you give us your reaction, give us your comments, and I'm certainly assuming that you really like this a lot, especially those of you who have children. You're trying to figure out how to garden with them or get them to eat more nutritious foods, and do it in a way that is curriculum-based and really helps with all of this sort of information. Okay, so you're already so excited about this that clearly we're going to run out of time. But if you could have anything you wanted to make this even better, what would that be? And how would that, you know, you mentioned how the parents are learning. What would you do to just ramp it up, grow it bigger?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just reaching out to community so that community members know that children are capable, children can interact with the garden spaces out in the community. And so even the neighborhood gardens, I wish that they would involve children more around the neighborhood because we can learn a lot from members that know how to garden in our neighborhood. And so inviting our children into those spaces, I think, is really important.
Can we do that on campus? I mean, could we on campus?
Oh, yeah.
You guys have such limited space,
Yeah.
and we don't.
Right,
I mean, the rest of the
right.
campus, both campuses,
Yeah,
are big.
absolutely. And so, you know, we are housed in the corner of East Campus, and so being able to have a new space that we're able to plant a bigger garden or partner with different, you know, departments on East Campus would just be phenomenal for us to be able to branch out and reach out to, you know, new spaces on East Campus.
And I do know you use our backyard farmer garden a lot.
Oh yeah.
We
yeah.
do.
We
Mickey, do
take
you
the
want to
kids
talk
over
about
there.
that?
Oh, it's one of my favorite places as the lead teacher to take not only our children, our young children, but also our pre-service teachers. Because again, like Jenny said before, what we do at the lab school is we do hands-on education. We do interest-based learning. You know, we write the curriculum around the child instead of having a book that's, you know, not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but for what we love to do as far as what we teach as the lab school, we love to be able to observe the interests of the children and then write curriculum based around that. That still meets every and all objectives for young children, you know, ages, well, birth to 5 really. Yeah. And so what we do is as many times as we can, we get them out of the lab school and we go walk on campus. And
It's just a great established space.
Oh, it's
that
perfect
children
for
are
it.
able to see it. Really take care of. We've had encounters with experts over there.
Oh yeah.
So the master
They've
gardeners,
come to the lab school for
they're
us
so
too.
welcoming. So I think just that community-based interactions with the lab school children, but too, Mickey said, we our main mission is to provide a site for pre-service teachers to learn how high-quality childcare, high-quality early childhood education, what it looks like. And so these new teachers are learning that gardening is important. Nature-based education can play a role
Absolutely.
in the classroom. And so they're seeing that happen, you know, in the East Campus community.
Yeah, we've had a lot of pre-service teachers that say, oh, I didn't know this, or I didn't know you could do this, I didn't know you could grow on a tower garden indoors, or when we even give them the experience of taking them to the backyard farmer's garden and
saying, what is this?
Exactly, role model
and a
how
child
to,
tells her
yeah,
or him.
they're
what
amazed
plant it
themselves,
is.
but then they also get interested in it, and then they're even open to a whole different understanding of how the young child learns.
So this sort of reminds me a bit of how so many of us learned to garden, which is under a grandmother or grandfather's wing, and the parents are kind of filling that role for
The
you right now.
experience, yeah.
So I think anything that we can do, and I'm talking we as faculty and staff, and of course the farmers, the backyard farmers,
Yes.
to help say, all right, the next generations are going to understand and do this differently because they have these opportunities. I think that's a fabulous
Well,
sort of
yeah,
thing.
we're bringing back what once was and that we kind of got away of and is now becoming again. Traditional farming is becoming more popular anyway. People are growing their own foods a lot more now just because of the different state that our food is in, and you know, and so there's a lot more people gardening on their own. Bring your children in, bring them out there, 18 months, 1 year, have them get in the dirt. Dirt's actually healthy for them. You know, let them connect in that way. And then also with that first, you know, 5 years of the brain development, they have most of their experiences that actually shapes a child is within that 5 years of development. So under the age of 5, those young children are going to remember that forever. and it only gets better from there. So
That's perfect. We are going to have you back, whether it's on the real show or this one or anything else, because unfortunately that is really all the time we do have for Digging Deeper with Backyard Farmer tonight. You can watch a new Digging Deeper on Facebook every Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. Central. Don't miss Backyard Farmer live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central on NET. Thanks for digging deeper with Backyard Farmer.